All right, we are back for a special episode of Bucks and Brews. This is our three-part series on what is your debt? Why do you have debt? I don't know what the hell we're calling this, Nick. Do you know what we're calling this?
Normal people with debt.
Sure, normal people with debt. So Vanessa likes listening to us, and I've known Vanessa for many, many years now. She likes listening to us because we're regular guys, and we just kind of shoot the shit. So while we're shooting the shit here, I am enjoying a peanut butter and jelly this morning. I have Saugatuck Brewing's peanut butter porter with Virtue Cider's Michigan cherries. So this is fantastic. It's nice
cider
and dark.
Porter, huh? And it drinks well. A cider and a porter mix, huh?
It does.
That's pretty good. I say. This week, so I have West 6th Brewing, Pay It Forward Coconut Porter. Let's see. Thanks for helping us pay it forward. For every 6-pack, West 6 will give 50 cents to organizations doing great work in the community. So, I figured, hey, if they're going to donate money, I'm going to go ahead and help them donate the money.
Can't beat that.
Yeah. So, I just have a few 2, 3, 12 sitting in front of me, and I'm pretty excited about them.
All righty. Vanessa, you drinking anything?
A Coke Classic.
There you go.
Hey.
Nothing wrong with Coca-Cola. Our last talk on debt, I had cherry Coca-Cola because it was 9 a.m. on a Sunday and I didn't feel like drinking that.
Well, I'm still heading out hunting this afternoon, so I got,
We'll try to make this short and sweet for you then.
Oh, you're fine. I got plenty of time. No big deal.
It's a real quick side thing for those that watching and listening. My car got broken into this weekend, and the only thing they actually took out of the car was I had a glass bottle of Coke that was unopened that I was saving for the next day. Everything else is cleaned out of the car, but yep. So the only thing they took was Coke. So right, Coke is a good thing.
Seems to be. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Oddside and Rochester Mills, who both liked our last tweet because we were drinking Rochester. Well, I was drinking Rochester Mills and Nick was drinking Oddside, so we were excited about that. Nick's got the milkshake stout holiday pack there.
12 days of milkshake, dude. We do it every year. We've been doing it for, I think it's our 4th year now, 5th year, whatever it might be. Courtney and I do this every year. So
we'll give another little shout out to them there.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
So full disclosure, I met with Vanessa. We're thinking it was about the end of August, and she said, hey, I'm looking at some student loan debt and some other debts, and I really want to start getting stuff paid off and get to the point where my money's my money and it's not working for everybody else. So we probably met for about an hour and a half, and I kind of laid out everything for her. And I gotta say, out of the people I've met with, and I've met with a lot of people on finances, Vanessa's probably the one that excites me the most because she literally started doing everything we talked about. A couple of weeks ago, she sent me a spreadsheet where she's tracking all of her spending, so she knows where everything's going. I was so excited to see it. I think she's going to have some really good information to give us today, and I'm really excited about this one, Nick. And I'm going to let you go with a lot of questions because I know you have a lot of questions on people's debt and why they have it. So I'll kind of turn that over to you there.
So Vanessa,
Mm-hmm.
All right. So walk me back through where your debt kind of came from, and I guess what it took you to realize you had debt that you wanted to care about. I mean, people usually know they have debt, but
yeah. So my biggest debt is my student loans. I started off as a single mom trying to go back to school. I didn't finish, had a nervous breakdown. So I was a single mom for many years. So the student debt kind of just accumulated. It was a combination of late payments, deferments, interest just continually accruing. So that's always been there. The collections we had, or I had, was medical debt for my son. when he was young, he had a lot of medical issues. We're still working through those. Things were tight, and so it just kind of accumulated. And then the credit card debt was just stupidity. I lied to myself, and as soon as I make a payment, or as soon as I buy something, I'll pay it off. It was a Disney card. Because I love Disney, and it was, you accrue points and can spend on vacations or whatnot. And then the next thing you know, there's like $10,000 on there.
On one card or multiple cards?
That was one. The Amazon card was started. I needed a computer. I was trying to go back to school. And then that one, for the most part, stayed under control, what I thought was control. My husband and I both use it still, but we try to pay that off. I mean, there's still a little bit of money left on there to pay, but that has, like, our Amazon Prime is automatically charged to that. But that's it. It was the collections, the student debt. And then recently, we purchased a new car for me. I had to. And so that I'm not as concerned about. I mean, my husband's name is also on that, but the other stuff was in my name.
Sure. So I wanna break down student debt a little bit. I mean, you kind of answered real quick, but student debt, I'm assuming just because you mentioned the laptop, right? You didn't just use it for
No.
What I would assume student debt. Like when I went into student debt, just so everybody knows, right? Because I mean, they make you prepay theoretically for school, and at the time I didn't have, like, let's call it $10,000 after my scholarship money to do it, so I took that on. But I paid for my books with cash. I paid for my housing because I stayed at home. Right, so now, I mean, my laptop, I paid cash. Like I didn't rack up anything except for the educational part of debt, right? So it sounds like did you finance your books? Did you finance?
I had to finance everything. At that point, I want to say 25. I had been living on my own since I was 19. I had my daughter at 21. I left her dad, and I came back home. And then I kind of bought a house, and then I tried to go back to school. So there was a lot going on. I was young, naive,
Sure.
I didn't really have a lot of financial education from my parents. I mean, that is just what it is.
I mean, I think that's what you find a lot is, parents aren't teaching that stuff to their kids, right? Like you kind of watch what they do. And I mean, right, like even my own daughter who's 5, right, when she wants something, she's like, just swipe your card. And I'm like, nope, I'm failing at this. Like, hey, that money, and I stop her even in the store. Like, I'll have a line of people, and like, I don't care. I'm like, this money that I'm swiping on here is financially backed by cash that I have in a bank. Like, you need it. And she's like, oh, okay. I was like, so right, if we don't have this in the bank, it's not like you can just go out and swipe real money. I don't want her to understand leverage until later. I'm teaching her slowly.
Well, and I think it's tough for parents too, because they don't necessarily understand money, and they're trying to live. A lot of them are living paycheck to paycheck. I know
My parents did.
Yeah, and I know when I was growing up, we didn't have money issues. We did anything we wanted to do, so I didn't have a healthy respect for how hard it was to make money. I didn't have that. So I had a lot of missteps when I was young, and I learned from those. And it's the reason we do this, because we need people to understand that it's not because you're stupid. Vanessa used a great word, naive. You're naive. You don't know what you don't know.
Sure.
And that's part of the step that you need to take to figure out, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing, so let's talk to people that do, and I'll learn from them.
You know, and when I went back to school, I went to Davenport, and I'll be honest,
Me too.
they did not explain things to me. They just, said, it's going to cost this much. We can get you a student loan, sign right here. Okay, I need this class. And I signed away. I had no idea the debt that I was in until I had to drop out of school and the bills started coming in.
Sure. I mean, I kind of had the same thing, like to Davenport, right? Like, I hear people can literally like, I don't know how to finance the housing side of things, or, even in college, like normal college, right? You can finance the food plans. I mean, you hear people constantly like financing everything else. And I don't know how that works. So like with you, I mean, did they just give you like a line of credit, or did they just give you like a big lump sum? Because I don't know, for some reason, maybe it's just because I said I only want to finance like my classes, right? So then I went in and signed just for my classes, and everything else was on me.
I had to finance books. I was living off campus because I was a mom. I had bought my own house at that point. So, they said, well, put your books on your account, and then when your student loans come in, it will pay that off and it will pay your classes.
Okay.
Great. I can get my books, I can go to class, and all I have to do is sign this piece of paper and I can go to class. And they didn't explain to me. I honestly don't even remember the amounts that they said I was signing for. I just signed it.
I say I had a half ride scholarship to Davenport for bowling. So I had to finance the other half. And so like I think that's exactly it. Like my mom would never co-sign for anything, still hasn't. And so it was literally just, hey, just sign this saying you'll pay us back for the classes. And I think I wish colleges were held more accountable, right? I wish they did something like a credit pull or explain this. I mean, right, they're an educational system. They should educate on all levels. I'm seeing, so how much student debt did you rack up? Davenport, so for everybody that doesn't know, Davenport University is a private university, right? It's it's not
expensive.
cheap. It's not cheap.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I've been out of school for many years. Like I said, with deferments and late payments, it's about 75,000.
Okay. 70. So wow. Okay. How long?
Yeah.
How long did you go to school? And
less than 3 years.
Less than 3 years?
Yes.
So you still have a year and a half or so to go.
Yes. And I'll be honest, the last 2 semesters, I failed all the classes because I was in the middle of a nervous breakdown.
Sure.
I was heavily medicated after that semester, the final semester. But yeah. So
you went from student debt to medical debt because of the medication. I mean, you kind of hit a back-to-back debt thing.
So we're talking about this, and I really want people to realize when we're talking about student debt, it's a hot issue right now because Biden's talking about forgiving student loans under such an amount of money, which I think they're talking about 50,000. And all the comments I see to the negative are, you know what, I paid for my student loan. They should have known better. It's their own problem. Here's the problem. You're taking an 18 to 22-year-old kid and saying, you don't have to worry about this. Pay for it later. It's not a big deal. You'll get a job. And then you just pay it off. It's great. It's easy. And this kid's going, oh, that sounds perfect. So they just sign. They don't know what the hell they're signing because they're not getting any real guidance on anything. And, when their parents went to college, if they went to college, these were subsidized loans. So interest didn't even start until 6 months after they graduated. Now they're unsubsidized. So interest starts from day one.
Right. And they don't, one thing I'll give viewers knowledge of is, right, while you're in school, they don't keep telling you how much debt you have. You sign basically per loan. And so, yes, like it's your responsibility to write it down. But I remember I literally, for the year that I went, right, I just signed for one. Like I had all my classes planned out for the full year type thing, just signed for it. But I can see like in your shoes, right, where it's not like you get like a billing statement constantly where, hey, semester number 1, you went and bought, economics 101 book, English, 101 stuff like it doesn't say, hey, here's the things you bought, right? You just went in and said, put it on my tab, walked away, and then you had this big giant thing. And when you're done, they finally tell you, hey, how much you owe. I was the crazy one who, because I went to Grandpa's Community College first, paid cash for all of that, because I was working like a 50+ hour a job week and going to school, 21 credit hours. I was nuts. But then I go to this thing where I'm financing things, and I was like, well, if I paid that, I didn't realize like that. I mean, the credit hour at CC, I don't even remember, $70 an hour. Like here, it's like 400, right? I mean, so in my mind, it was like just keep working and paying, and I'll get it paid off. And so, but I had to. It took so long for me to find who to call, how to make a payment to them, and then they bite you because they're like, hey, if you start making payments, you can't stop making payments unless this, And I'm like, well, I want to make payments. Technically, you tell me I don't have to make a payment until the end, but if I start, you can't stop. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, even if I want to just pay off my interest, right? Just so I walk out with 10K. And say I know I fell into the trap one time where I was probably $5,000 ahead, right, in my loan out of the 10K. I didn't have to make a payment. They're like, oh, you don't have to make a payment because like how it works is, right, you only have to pay you only have to make a payment if money is owed. And so I think I took like a December off one time for Christmas because I was like, I'll get it later. Went all out on Christmas, probably my first Christmas with my wife or something, and then January was right back at it. But, not having a statement kind of come every month is just a little different. So.
Well, and I'm going to make a statement, and it's probably going to anger some people, but I'm going to make it anyways. So when we're looking at student loan debt, I think you need to realize that there's two things at play here. One is if they get in a ton of student loan debt, you're basically at the mercy of whatever job you have, and you'll be an obedient worker. Okay,
Right.
You'll do what you're told to do because you need to keep making those payments. And in all honesty, they're never getting paid off because you're never going to make enough money to pay them off. Vanessa's looking at $75,000 in debt. And, I know some of the jobs she worked at because she worked with my wife at some places. There was a place they worked extremely hard. They were making like $10, $11 an hour. And it was a very technical position they were in, but that was the going rate of pay at that point. So you're never getting out of student debt making $11 an hour. You're just not. And the second point, we talk about stimulating the economy. You know what stimulates the economy? Having money to spend. And I realize that these kids took on all this debt. Now they're in their 30s and 40s and they can't pay for this debt. But you want to make them better members of society? Get rid of some of this debt for them. Go buy a house. Let them go buy a car.
So right my fear about getting rid of student debt is it'll allow people to make bad decisions because they know that stuff's going to be forgiven, right? Like, I mean, handouts, people, they'll go finance. So, I mean, I'm not technology. I just know a few things, right? Like I own an HP. I can see that. I own an HP laptop. I probably paid $200 for it. Where in college, I had a friend that had an Alienware, right, which cost him $4,000. I thought it was awesome. Like keyboards could change color. And I feel like people will play the system because they know that that's just going to get paid off. So I think there's got to be
there. I mean, I can see, I was that person in the beginning. I was, but people have to take accountability. I mean, you have to realize, I think honestly that high schools need to bring back just a basic life class. I joined the military after high school and I still didn't have to worry about, my housing was paid, my medical was paid. I never saw a medical bill. When I had my daughter, I'll tell you, even though I was on a military base, she was born in a civilian hospital. the only funds that I had to pay was $25 to have my child. All medical visits, the hospital, everything was $25 for the food that I ate, the crappy food that I ate in the hospital, because in the military you get a food allowance. So therefore you should have been able to pay for that. So I think even those, going into the military, they don't have the knowledge. They're not given that basic economic, here's how life works kind of lesson.
Sure.
Well,
Now, the military didn't pay part of it for you?
They
For
paid all the
college?
medical.
Oh, sorry, for college?
No, because I got out too early. I took an early out when I had my daughter. So I was not in long enough to get the GI Bill.
Okay. Yeah, I see.
Nick, Nick and I are, kind of opposite ends of the forgiving student loans thing. And I'm going to qualify this by saying, do I think you should get it for free? No, not necessarily. What I think is, if you're making a $500 payment and $495 goes to pay your interest, that's bullshit. Okay. We need to lower the interest rates for these kids. We need to make it more affordable for them to go to school. They should be paying 20% interest. They should be paying 4%,
I think my highest one is 6.8.
which is fantastic.
But yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you had mentioned you have Amazon, you have a Disney credit card, medical. So in total, I mean, I guess from what I'm hearing, right, 75, a bunch of medical, which we don't know. I mean, you're at over $100,000 in debt.
Yep. I was when I talked to David.
Yep. Okay. So a couple months ago, we talked to David. What did you do, and kind of where's it at now? Is it working? Is it not working?
Well, the first thing David told me to do was to get a handle on the collections. So that following Monday, I started calling the collections agencies. I think I had 4 of them, 4 different agencies with accounts. 3 of them are paid off. One of them, it was only $150. That was the first one I called. They did not take settlements for anything less than 500. So I had to pay the full 150. The other 2, I was able to, the first one, they just said, okay, yep, you make a one-time payment, we'll settle it for this. And then the third one, which was medical debt, they had to have that approved. So they called me back like 2 weeks later, and I was able to get that a one-time payment paid off, and they settled for less. And I do have the amounts of what they settled for. The third one, or the fourth one is RMP. And I'll tell you, they're not very nice to work with. The guy was very rude. And when I said that I would make a one-time payment, but I would like to settle, he said, well, it's going to take like 30 days for us to contact all these accounts. And I said, okay. They have yet to call me back. It's my responsibility to call them as well. Granted, but they're not willing really to work with me. And so that one's kind of at a standstill. That was my biggest one. I think it's at 2,300 is what I owe them. End of story.
So the one we know you paid 150. The other 2, what were they at? What did you settle for?
Let's see. I have it right here. Hold on.
I think this is great. Like, I mean, you meet and then literally take action just a couple days later.
Yep.
And now we're looking at savings just instantly. So this is really cool for us to
So portfolio recovery, I owed $332. They settled for $282.61, so that saved me $49.39.
Yeah.
The other one was Allied, and David, after I talked to you, this one was actually higher than what I thought it was, because there was one that wasn't listed on my Credit Karma.
Okay.
So that was a one-time payment. Hold on a second. Let me see what it was before the settlement with that other one that was added in. So that was $771.66. I made a one-time payment of $606.59, and that saved me $165.07.
You saved over $200 settling those two bills.
Yep.
And yeah, both of them pretty much gave you a 20% one-time payoff. Yep. And then now, so when you called, you said, hey, I want to settle one time. Did you get a piece of paper that said, hey, do this? I mean, you have to sign anything?
Nope. I had to agree to certain terms verbally, which they recorded. And then I have received the 3 letters stating that my debt is paid and my account is at 0 and they are satisfied with my payment.
And when did you make these payments?
9/15 was one, 9/8 and 9/14.
Oh, perfect. So we have 2 months in between. Have you checked your credit in the past 2 months?
Yes.
And
it's gone up. I've looked at Credit Karma. I kind of keep that one. It's kind of where I looked at all this stuff.
Sure.
TransUnion went up. I can look at it if you want me to, but Equifax went up a little bit, but the TransUnion went up quite a bit.
Sure.
So
instantly you've seen results. I mean,
yep.
So you already have a house, so it's not a big deal. But you have letters saying that these are paid off.
Mm-hmm.
You saved $200 and something. Gosh, $225 roughly. Just on the 2 payments that you made. Now the Disney one, are you in collections on Disney?
No, those are all up to date.
Okay, so do you still have they're up to date? So you've paid down
yes.
the 10 grand on it then?
I'm down to, what did I? So the Amazon, when I talked to David, was at a little over 2,000. It was at 2,045. That's down to 1,638. So I paid about $400 off of that. The Disney was at $8,839. That's down to $7,600. So I'm $5 short of $2,000 that I've paid off.
So do you care to share like roughly how much you guys are making in a household?
With my husband's income, we're over 100. But I'm sorry?
Is he helping you pay this debt?
Yes and no.
I'm going to say this. I'm jumping in here. So I think they have a very interesting situation, and I kind of like the way it works. So he didn't sign up for any of this debt, and he doesn't feel responsible for any of this debt. I don't blame him one bit, but he's willing to help.
The student loans, he's like, you're on your own.
But he's willing to help with everything that's out there.
Yes.
Sure.
Our bills are separate.
Okay.
He pays the house payment. He makes all repairs. He pays the insurance, the medical insurance. My responsibilities are my student debt, pay my credit card, my cell phone bill, because I was paying my daughters for a while too. I pay the electric bill. I pay the garbage bill. We don't have water and sewer, bless you, because we live in the country. And then I buy groceries.
Okay.
So when we bought the new car, the agreement was that he would pay half because he knew I couldn't afford it. But it's since been, I've taken over the full payment. He's helping with groceries a little bit more than he was. So we kind of split some of the responsibilities. When I came to him about getting this debt paid off, I said, look, if the one of them that's still not paid, I said, if they'll make a one-time payment, can you help me pay this? And he said, here's my checkbook, you know. So
Okay.
and he gave me $500 to pay on the Amazon card because some of it was his. So it's
Sure.
not that he, you know, but he makes all the house repairs. He, you know, I have a new car now, but he was making all the vehicle repairs. So he does make way more than I do.
Sure. But no, I'm saying that's so he's not paying your debt. So I guess walk me through. Well, first I want to kind of go back to you owe 8837 and 7600 roughly on 2 accounts. Have you tried to call those credit cards and settle instantly? Just
I
get
don't have the funds to settle instantly.
okay. Even if you took a HELOC on your house?
He would not agree to that.
Okay. So no, right. I mean, credit card companies I find are usually like if you have debts, man, you could probably get at least a 25 to 30%. Like, hey, I'll pay you right now, like cash. I think with you making payments, I mean, you've made substantial payments in like the 2 months that you've talked to David. So I think I don't know if they'd be willing to work because they're already looking at you making big payments.
Mm-hmm.
So like, oh, this lady's going to pay us. But no, I think that's fantastic that you've knocked off. So, right, if my numbers are correct, like, granted, you got a little bit of money from him, like $500. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But where did you find this literal like $2,000, $2,000 to make this payment? Where'd you find this money?
I work my paycheck. Like I told David, I had to take responsibility. And after I talked to David, and you know, I'm making good money now, and I really had to look at where my money was going. Okay. Because I couldn't account for it. I had a spending problem. That's plain and simple. And once I bared down and said, this has got to stop, this insanity, living paycheck to paycheck at what I was making. Granted, it's not as much as my husband. I mean, I'm probably only going to make about 35,000 this year, but I don't have the responsibilities that my husband has. And there was no reason that I should be living this way. There is no reason that I had to borrow money from him for gas, or, you know, I had a spending problem.
Sure.
And so I bared down and managed where my money was going. Nothing went in and out without me documenting it, categorizing it, color coding it, and adding it up at the end of the month to really see where it was going.
Well, I want to say this, and Vanessa, correct me if I'm wrong on what we're talking about here. So I checked in with you, I don't know, 3 weeks, a month after we first talked, and you're like, if I'm wrong on the category, correct me. I couldn't believe how much I was spending eating out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot. And then all of a sudden, when you start tracking it, you're like, holy crap, I spent $200 last month eating out. Why the hell did I do that?
It was more than that. That's just it. And the sad part is it's basically because we were being lazy. We literally have a freezer full of meat. We bought half a cow, half a pig. We now have 2 deer in our freezer. You know, it's packed, and there was no reason that we should have been eating out as much as we were.
Sure. No, and that's right. I think we're all guilty of it, especially during these holiday times, for sure, where it's like you're overwhelmed, you're out shopping all day, you're doing whatever. I mean, granted, I'm still old school. I go in person to buy gifts or go to small businesses. But yeah, like I remember there was one time I think we spent probably $2,800 going out to eat one month. I mean, it was just astronomical, right? But usually it's hey, we're going to these breweries, we're, you know, spending a couple $100 because, you know, back then it was, hey, you know, we're meeting up with friends that are in town, we're doing this, and it's just kind of covering it, and so it just adds up insane. So now you're tracking everything, which that's what we tell people all the time, like, right, track your money, because I mean, you say I don't spend, I'm going to promise you do, right? If you make any income and you don't spend any income, that doesn't make any sense. Like I don't make anything, I don't spend anything, I'm broke. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, well, I have this, or I have, okay, so that's called an expense. Well, my job doesn't, that's called an income. Okay, we need to get you to understand, hey, these two work together. No,
Yeah,
I mean,
I worked from home before all this, before COVID started.
yeah,
So I don't have a clothing bill. My commute is 15 steps down the hallway. So I'm spending less in gas now. I don't have to buy the cute clothes to wear to the office. I don't have to go out to eat at lunch. I can go to my refrigerator. So those expenses were way down, but I still wasn't able to account for where my money was going.
sure. Well, and I mean, you have kids that live at home still?
I have a 9-year-old. My daughter is 21 on her own. She still messages us every night, not just for money, but there was just last month, she's like, hey, look, she needed to borrow some money. Obviously, I couldn't give it to her. My husband did. But that's his girl, even though it's a stepdaughter, that's his girl. So he was like, hey, you send my girl $500. I was like, I'd like $500.
Right? Like, I was your girl.
I know. I'm like, what the hell?
No, and that's right. So it's and it sucks, right? Because it's a great thing to have a parent that doesn't necessarily say no, right? But I mean, do you guys have a talk? I guess this gets personal, but that's kind of what our podcast is. I mean, do you have a talk with her about why she's behind on money? I mean, do you
No,
know?
because she's very responsible. At one point she was working 2 jobs. And she's down to 1 job now. We know that she left her boyfriend of 2 years and she was living with friends. There was 6 people with her in this apartment, 2 cats, a bearded dragon, and I don't even know what else was in this apartment. So she got an apartment, and so she had the down payment. She had most of that. She paid all of that herself. She had the first month's rent, security deposit. She had all of that. What she needed help with was the turn on expenses and groceries. And
Okay.
she asked for, there was one bill that she had forgot about. And so she borrowed $100 and she paid my husband back that Friday. And then she asked him for some money. She said she would appreciate 200 just to help buy groceries. My husband gave her 500. She
Okay.
didn't ask for that.
Sure.
She was shocked. So she doesn't typically ask us for money. Her school is paid for, so we didn't have to pay for that. While she was in school, I did pay for her cell phone. But now that she's out of school, she pays her own cell phone. She typically does not ask us for money. So
Sure.
when she does, we know she needs it.
Sure. No, that's it's a good thing. And you have, I know, so I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dave Ramsey or anything, or any other financial people, right? Dave Ramsey is very, I think he comes he does come from a religious side of things. So I guess that's why he tells everybody, like, you and your spouse need to be on the same accounts and you have to do this. And so and we talk about it on episodes, like my wife and I have separate accounts and we've talked about reasons why. So like you and your husband having separate accounts, right? I mean, sometimes it's for the better, right? Like, yes.
It was for us.
You're over here building up credit card debt and he's not necessarily seeing it all. But he's making sure that you guys are surviving on this side, right? And it's going to take times where 2 months ago where it's like, hey, I'm in debt. And yeah, okay, could he have stopped it ahead of time or this and that? But again, when he comes into a marriage, well, I'm saying when he comes into a marriage and you already have it, right? Like it's you can't just collaborate worlds just like that. And I think that's one big thing. Dave Ramsey just thinks that everybody just stops and changes their life on the spot. And I'm like, my big thing is to like stop you from getting farther in and then slowly working at it. Like everybody gives us crap because my wife and I got married at 21 years old. Um, yeah, we were just, all so young and stuff like that. And I was like, even 10 years in, we're still working on how to structure everything because, right, when she gets her promotions and starts making bigger money, like I don't change her things. I mean, when it comes to utilities, she pays those and stuff like that. But she needs to. Yes, sometimes I put more on her, but in the end, it works out. It works out for us in a general way. So, yes, it's our. My wife will tell you, hey, it doesn't feel like it's our money, and I understand where she's coming from, but there's a time, there's and when you say that for so long, finally we created a vacation account, right? Where it was like, hey, this is proof that like both of us are, like we can't say no at all in any way, shape, or form on vacation money, right? Like if my wife wants stupid Big B or Starbucks, I mean, she doesn't do Starbucks anymore. But Big B, like every day, like I officially cannot say no, or the local coffee shop in Nashville or anything that we're at. It's vacation money. We both like, you just cannot say no, right? If I want a brand new bowling ball while on vacation, okay, I can't say no, right? Or she can't say no. But no,
How many bowling balls do you buy on vacation?
If it's a good deal, it happens. Okay. So,
I meant like over under 2.5, and I'm taking the over.
So
not per vacation, total.
Oh, I bought more than 2 on vacation for sure.
There you go. I win.
Yeah, like, well, because I mean, so the idea is when I go to nationals every year, I bring my bowling balls, but there's chances of like losing bags, so I constantly like save up money for the oh crap I get there and my bags didn't show up. I still need to bowl, and I have enough friends that actually run in pro shops and things like that. They'll hook me up with screaming deals, so I get there and I'm like, well, I'm already here. I might as well drill up a bowling ball. I budgeted for it. Or I say, when we go to certain tournaments, I mean, some pro shops, man, they'll run such great deals for us. So, I have I have the money lined up, and I'm like, I've been wanting this thing forever, and today's the day I pull the trigger. So, no, I think with $2,000, that's huge. So now, what when it comes to your debt, I mean, have you started looking into the future of like what debts are going to be coming and how to attack them early?
No, because I'm so far into, I mean, I have so much debt now that, well, I guess, my husband, we want to sell our house and we want to move. So I guess that honestly, that's kind of what triggered us all is,
Okay.
The house that we want is actually next door to his dad, where his dad lives. And eventually we plan on putting his mother, those two are divorced, on the other side. They get along. So we wanted to buy a specific house. We know the current homeowners, we're friends with them. They've given us first dibs when they decide to move. They're older. And I'm looking at this house and thinking, we're comfortable where we're at and paying the debt, and my husband is comfortable working just 40 hours and not killing himself in overtime because he's also going to school, and he's comfortable paying his bills. But if this house comes available, how are we going to afford it, and how is he going to handle that financially by himself? He can't. And so I needed to tackle this debt, and I needed to get the bulk of it, those credit cards paid off, the collections paid off, in order to free up some of my money in order to help.
Okay, so that brings me to my next question. I mean, we know you've paid $2,000 in the past 2 months, so it's $1,000 a month. Now, how much money will you be freeing up once your debt is done?
Well, with the credit cards, when the the Disney credit card was almost $400 a month, and Amazon was almost $200 a month. So that's $600 a month that was just in credit card debt. So at least 600 for the credit cards. The car payment, it's 500. I pay 550 because I have been trying to pay on that. And I think it's like 528 or something a month. I've been paying 550. It's not a lot, but it's what I have.
Is it in both of your names or is it in his name? Sorry.
It's in his name. I co-signed it to try to build my credit.
Yep.
Because he has way better credit.
We did that with my wife too.
Yep. So, but that's in his name, but I pay it.
What's your interest rate?
It's around 5, I think.
Man, how old is the car?
We bought it literally the Saturday before she shut the state down in March.
No, sorry, what year vehicle?
It's a 2020.
Oh, so you didn't get the 0%. Oh, that sucks. Say, at brand new car, I feel like you could probably refinance that right now. Even with the depreciation. Have you looked into a bank to refinance that car for lower? I mean, interest rates on vehicles right now, because you're a go-getter. Monday, get on the phone, talk to some banks, say, hey, this is what I have for a car. This is what we owe. Like,
I would have to talk to him first because it's in his name, and he would have to refinance it.
Yeah, but you could do all the legwork, right? You could talk to the banks and then get everything set up, and then this is what I tell my wife all the time, I guess. But hey, if you want to do something over here, like bring me all the data and say, hey, we could save us money. We can do this. We can. And so, right, when you call banks and say, hey, I have a 2020, I mean, right, because yes, it's his, but you just say, hey, I have a 2020, I owe this, and then they're going to go, okay, yep, what's your credit? You know his credit. You just go, hey.
Yeah, I don't think that he's going to be willing to do that because he has an older truck.
Yep.
And the transmission is going. So soon, probably then we would like, as all new vehicles go, he's going to have to get a new vehicle. It's not going to be new like my 2020,
Sure.
but it'll still have to carry a debt. And so I don't think that he'll be willing to refinance the car.
I guess I'm confused why, because I mean, all it'll do is it'll buy the exact amount of debt.
He's I don't know. I don't know how to explain him. I love him to death, but sometimes
He doesn't want to pull on his credit, does he?
I think that's it. I think he doesn't want that because we do plan on selling the house. We do plan on getting him a new vehicle. We do have a lot going on, and he's I just don't think he's going to be. I mean, I can talk to him. I certainly will.
So I can tell you this. I know Capital One, for example, will do a soft pull on the credit so that it doesn't show up as an actual inquiry. And they'll give you options of what they could do for a refi. I did that with Dawn's vehicle because she's paying way more percentage-wise than I would like. She's at like 4.2. And basically it came back saying, yeah, you're getting the best deal you're going to get. So
what
moved on.
So what are you guys with a credit union or with a bank, or like who'd you get your loan through on the car?
Toyota Financial.
Yeah. So here's and again, this is all just me because I love real estate. I really do. I wish I could talk to him and you at the same time, but so my suggestions, right? Because I want to see you get lower debt. So right, tell him, hey, if we're gonna go buy a house, it'd be great to build a relationship with a bank or a credit union that we're going to get the next loan through. And so, right, go to, I don't know where you guys are living, but go to like Lake Michigan or go to Community West or whatever these local credit unions are. And see if they'll refinance it, because they're going to refinance your loan to a lower rate, which isn't going to cost you anything. It's going to be free. At this point, you're building a relationship with that bank. So that way they'll notice that you're paying all of your debts perfectly. You already have a debt with them, so they know your money. and then it's just going to be that much easier to get a loan on your next house. So I don't know what numbers you're looking at for the next house, but I mean, let's say you're only approved for 300,000 and the house you go to buy is 305, right? There's going to be such a good chance that they're going to build that relationship, or they're going to look at your car at that point. Well, hey, if you can, if we refinance this vehicle, and let's say you have a second truck at this time or whatever, hey, if we refinance these, if we pay this one off, give you more debt on the truck, like they're going to work so many different miracles just within that little bank to make sure that they finance that extra $5,000 on your house that you're going to get.
He does have his current vehicle through Honor Credit Union.
I love Honor.
Well, after our conversation with my conversation with David, he recommended I open up account at Honor, and
Yes.
they denied me because of my credit, because of my collections.
They're a very big commercial. So actually, I'm working on a YouTube. Might as well be the first people to hear this. Somebody just bought a 12 unit from us, but we're working on a 24 unit right now, and Honor Credit Union is going to be our go-to. And they're very big on like, we really want the best of the best, and we're going to work on everything. So like building that relationship. I knew the loan officer when he was a loan officer. Now he's vice president of commercial loans. I mean, and so he keeps pitching me off to somebody else, but because I've built this relationship and I call him, and I've never done a loan with them, which sounds really weird, but I've given him millions and millions of dollars into that company off of my friend referrals of people that are buying things. So really, if your husband already has a loan with them, say, hey man, I think we can do better on this, and just know that we're going to be buying a house, so we want to build this relationship. Tell them exactly what your intentions are, and they're going to work with you. I think that's just my big suggestion to you.
Yeah.
And when it comes to buying the next vehicle, like, all right, so here's how my mind works, right? You said the truck is going down. He's probably going to buy another truck. He seems like a truck guy, because once you have a truck, you always want one.
He needs a truck.
Right.
He does a lot of things for today. He's working on his mother's roof.
Yep.
So that's where he's at.
Yeah, it's amazing. So right, what I would do is go to Honor like instantly Monday. Say, hey, we're eventually going to need a truck, but we also are going to want this house, and this is how much we think it's going to be. So can you tell me what the maximum I can spend on a truck to guarantee that I'm going to be able to, if everything stays the same, if I want to buy this house, let's say, I mean, because you don't know when these people are selling, do you?
No.
Right. So
yeah, they're older. The one of them has medical issues, so it could be sooner than later. Yep. We're just kind of waiting.
But and I always plan for the worst, hope for the best. Right, like at perfect timing. But I would go to them, and they'll tell your husband. I mean, yeah, it might not be the answer he wants. Where granted, he already sounds like he doesn't want a 2020, but they'll say, hey, yep, you can go out and get a $15,000 truck, and it doesn't matter what they're going to tell you within the past 7 years, I think, right? So, but he'll be able to go out and know exactly what he can spend, and so it gives him free time to get it. So that way, your final end goal is still there, and working with that bank is huge for me. Again, and if you're doing 2 loans with them / 3 loans with them in the future, they're gonna give you the discount to get you in the door, knowing that you're buying another thing. Because right, so let's say you go from 4.5 down to 3, they're gonna lose 1.5% of what they could have had. But now you're going to go with another 3% interest. I mean, technically, in the end, right, when it all works out, they've just gained another 3%. And so they've gained 1.5 on that last one. So in total, they're at 6 when they could have just had like 4.5, So, and a 30-year mortgage on a house. I mean, they're going to get that, and that's going to be money in the bank for them forever. So build those relationships. Bank.
I will talk to him. I'll tell you that this weekend's not a good weekend. He's working on his mother's roof, and it's really bad.
No, trust me, I can't.
You have to know him when to strike. When the coals are hot, that's when you have to I know him, so I'll work on him, but it won't be Monday.
Have him watch this. I mean, trust me, I can't force anybody to do anything. I can only give strong suggestions
Mhm.
of what I think financially is a smart thing. Right. I have friends that are in debt up
Well,
to their eyeballs, right? Like, and
when I told him I was going to talk to David, um, he was kind of upset with me because I did not want to listen to what he had to say. Um, we we disagreed on how I should tackle my debt, and I thought he was completely wrong. And after talking to David, he was completely wrong. So he looks at debt and he looks at finances completely different than what I do, what David does, and what you're going to.
is he
So
debt free?
he has the house, and the cars. That's the only debt that he has.
But so he still owes on his truck.
Yeah, I think he only owes like $2,000 left on it though. I mean, he's paid it off early.
Sure. No, my everybody, and again, I can't force anything. I can't force people to want things they don't want. And it's an okay thing to look at debt different, but if he has a goal and a dream in mind, and the thing I'm seeing is this final house,
Mhm.
right? If he listens to just that little portion of how to guarantee he gets his dream right next to his father, I mean, to me, it doesn't matter if he takes my advice, but if he knows that a person that doesn't know him tried to specifically do his dream, his goal, it doesn't benefit me in any way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. If you go to Honor and mention my name, they'll just go, "Oh, okay, great, thanks, that's awesome. We'll we'll do nothing with it." But to get to that point of, hey, I found a way to make our dreams more of a guarantee. I mean, nothing is a guarantee, but more of a guarantee. He might be interested.
Mhm.
And as I said, like, your husband more than I do. I can't, I, until I'm blue in the face, I can't tell you to call the credit card company and, as you said, my husband won't do a HELOC. So, hey, that's, I didn't force it, right? But I want that dream and that end goal to be there. I mean, I will tell you, hey, for $1,000 a month, keep paying your debt. Like, make sure you stay focused on your budgets. If you fall off, right, call David, call myself, and say, hey, here's what came up. How would you go about doing it? And right, for now, until we get massively huge, I mean, we're going to give you those answers. You know, when we get massively huge, we're going to have, some hot young stud that drinks beer give you the answer. But until then,
Right.
it's got to be us, So we are the show. No, it's.
Do you know any young hot studs, Nick? Because I know.
I mean, yes, I do. Are they financially smart? God, no.
Yeah,
Say,
I've kind of found that, it's like, you either have to be one or the other. You either have your street smarts or your buck smarts. You either have to have your, you're cute or you're the nice guy. It's one of those things.
hey, I'm all the above. I'm a catch, okay? So
My wife's laughing at you, Nick.
no, so I think now, are you out of medical debt? You paid it all off, or do you still have that?
I still have one that I need to call back on and go back over them.
That's the
It's
30-day
changed. Yeah, my financial situation has changed slightly. As I was telling David, I have my work, I have a base pay, and then I have incentive pay. And it's hard to bank on incentive pay. And I was doing really good. The month of October was hurtful. I struggled with work, with system issues, and so it kind of slowed my work down, and I wasn't able to do what I was able to do. So the month of October, I mean, I did make extra, I did still pay, I think, $500 or $600 on the Disney card, but my budget was tight for October.
So medical debt is in collections, correct?
Yes.
Are you paying on it?
I was not until I talked to David. I've paid that off. I called the last one to try to set up a one-time payment, a settlement.
Yeah.
I'll have to call them back to see what they're willing to do.
Yeah, don't make a payment to them at all.
I
If it's
haven't.
not, if it's not a, if it, your credit can't get hurt anymore, right? If it's a one-time payment, that's the only thing you're going to offer them, right? Like, they're going to take it eventually. I mean, especially with medical, right now,
Yeah.
especially during COVID, they're going to, I mean, they're itching to get any money they possibly can. So,
Yeah. And so the money that my husband set aside and he was saving, because that's what he does. My lovely husband bought me a new gun for hunting. So the money that was in his account to do the one-time payments has diminished.
sure.
Because it was a necessity, David. It was. I wanted to go hunting, and he had a shotgun that I was gonna use, but I have T-Rex arms, and so it didn't sit right, and it hurt. And so my husband bought me a new gun.
Hey, I bought 2 new guns in the last 4 months, so.
I got a Mossberg 520 gauge.
Yeah, compact.
I don't know. It's shoots
Yeah.
good.
No, I can go to my safe right now because T-Rex arms. So yeah, I bought my wife the exact same gun. It's a fantastic like walnut stock on it. Shorter
stock.
And so it's a compact. I absolutely love shooting with it, right? So I'm here instead of out. But no, I mean, did you need to? No, right? You could have asked me if you could have borrowed this gun, and eventually I might have sold it to you at a discount and then just bought a better one that I wanted. But I'm just saying you didn't have to. Yes, it's a necessity. But you have 2 deers in your freezer already.
They weren't mine. They're my father-in-law's.
Yeah, well, to talk to your father-in-law, say, hey, we're hungry, we need a piece of meat, he would have let you have it. So
they're in our freezer. His 2 deer are in our freezer.
That's what I'm saying.
He just gave them to us, and he paid for processing, so it works.
Oh, he gave them to you. See, so
Yeah.
So you didn't need any part of this gun. Okay, so
no, but he loved me and I wanted it, and so he bought it.
That is what you need to do.
But it was his money. It was his money, not my money. So he bought it for me.
No, I think it's great. Say, and then student debt. Are you paying minimums on that?
So like for right now, until I can get the credit cards paid off, what I'm doing, if like, I think there's like 17 different loans, each with different amounts and different interest rates. If the monthly payment on the one is like $18.02, I pay $19.
Sure.
So I round up to the nearest dollar. So it's not a lot, but it is something. And as soon as the credit card's paid off, which David and I talked about, should be in about a year and maybe less with what I've been paying on them.
With what you're paying on, you should be quick. 8 months.
Yeah, and so I've been selling things, and I did return some cans, and as soon as I put the can money in my account, I made an extra payment to the Disney card. It was only $50, but it was $50.
I have you at 7 months.
So as soon as the credit card debt is paid off, what I was paying in the credit card monthly will go straight to student loans.
So
no, it should go straight to the car. It'll go towards the car because the car has a higher interest rate, I believe. But I'll make what I can, and I will continually pay on the student debt.
So I'm going to say this because Vanessa keeps saying it was only this, it was only that. So I'm on a meeting on Wednesday with my therapist, and she goes, we were talking about money, and she goes, well, that's a big step for you because you're the guy that used to run to the bank with a penny. And I said, what do you mean used to? She goes, you don't still do that. I'm like, the hell, I don't. If I got money, it's going to the bank. I don't care if it's a penny. They're working. They don't care if it's a penny either. I'm taking it. There is no, well, it was only this. That's huge. I picked back $50 in bottles, and I made an extra payment to the credit card. That's awesome. we can't diminish that by saying, well, it was only $50. $50 is a lot of money. That's, gas payment for a month.
There's more back there, but where we're at, it's not worth to me standing in line. So once the snow starts to fly here, we'll have less people because we live in the tourist town. So as soon as the snow starts to fly, I'll be able to start returning cans more often.
He lives where you want a vacation house, Nick.
Oh, you live in South Haven?
I sure do. Yeah.
For you.
Hey, in about a year, we'll have a house for sale for you.
Where is it near the kids' corner?
No, downtown. You are not going to buy a house in downtown South Haven for less than 400. It's
You
just.
You want to take a bet?
I'm almost willing because.
I mean,
and actually, my mother-in-law lives closer to town. Her house will be for sale in a year, so.
How much of a bet are we talking?
I'm not sure.
I mean, because like if it's money, I'm probably just going to buy a house I don't want in the first place. I looked at one right on Phoenix Street, just past the light, so in town technically, for 120.
Okay.
I found one just kitty corner to what I call it, kids corner.
Kids corner.
But it was one house to the left, so I couldn't absolutely see the exact view of the lake that I wanted.
The ocean.
It is an ocean to me, man. I love sailing. So it was, but I say, I can, trust me, if I need to find a place that bad, I will market for it, and I will buy a house. So I love the little area. So how often do you eat at Maria's?
We don't.
I'm sorry, you should. It's my favorite restaurant.
Really? We do not eat at Clementine's either. We will never go to Clementine's ever
so
again.
Boring. It's like, 90-year-olds eat there because, right, the food has no flavor and they like that no flavor feeling.
They had the worst service ever, and so we walked out and never to return.
Yeah. When I go there, I hang out at Balix.
Okay.
So as often as I don't go there, they literally just know me by name because I literally walk in and they just pour me a random beer. It sits there and they just keep pouring me beer until I pay a tab. And they just go, all right, Nick's in town. Like that's all. I enjoy that little town. So my wife. And
actually, talking about eating out and stuff, we are actually planning on eating out tonight to Maple Grove Bar.
Okay.
They have like my husband's favorite burrito and it's on special, and they took it off the menu. So if he doesn't get it tonight, we have to wait another 2-3 months for it. So we are getting burritos tonight from the Grove.
Man, it sounds like we're making a trip to South Haven. All this free 99 knowledge is no longer free 99. I mean, it's costing.
I don't know when anybody's going to watch this, but it is Small Business Saturday, so go support your local small business.
Yeah, and saying Happy Thanksgiving with the turkey hat.
It looks like Princess Leia.
No, sir. It's got turkey little things. Okay. No. So now, what do you have any more questions for us? What feedback? I mean, you've already told people that the knowledge that David's kind of given you has worked. But do you have any questions that we can help you with that we haven't answered? And
not right now, no.
Okay. And then my other question is, what's the biggest advice you can give to anybody who might be in somewhat of your same situation?
Take responsibility. You need to really figure out where your money is going. That's the biggest thing. And to take, just to say, okay, look, here's my debt, and just tackle it. You can't just sit back like I did for 5 years and just say, oh, it's in collections. What am I going to do? Oh, woe is me. If you don't make a plan and plan to succeed, it's not going to happen. Like I told David, if you want later on, I'll show you my spreadsheets. I have no problems with that. Really evaluate your money.
Sure.
What was the eye-opening thing for you when we talked?
I don't know. I mean, it was just a matter of, I mean, I knew my debt. I knew what it was. I knew it was a lot. I knew it was more than I could handle on my own. It was more of just somebody saying, here's a plan. Here, somebody helping me and saying, here's how we're going to tackle this. I mean, obviously you didn't say, I'm going to give you money to help you tackle your burst, but here's how we are going to do this. And because it is overwhelming when you are in, I think I was like at 117,000 when I talked to you, David. That's a lot for anybody making $20,000 to $30,000 a year. You look at that going, how the hell am I going to pay that? And so just having a plan.
How did you feel before we talked? Like,
I was very overwhelmed.
okay.
I very anxious. I had a lot of anxiety just in day to day because it's on your mind all the time. Even just when my husband talks about, oh, he says we, but like we have to replace these doors or we have to do this. And I know that's a financial burden on him. And how am I going to help? I'm his wife and I'm not helping. Why am I not helping? Why am I not taking that responsibility off of him? How can I help him? And so it's very burdensome. It's very heavy. It was a very heavy debt weight that I lived every day.
And how did you feel like, I don't know, an hour after we talked compared to a week after we talked compared to now?
After we talked, I felt a sense of relief. When I got those 3 collections paid off, I felt proud. I felt okay, and then when I started tackling the credit card and I started seeing those numbers going down and I saw the interest that I was being charged less. It's only a couple dollars, but it's less. It was relief. It was a sense of I can do this and I'm on the right path. And, and I had that year, we talked about it, within a year, I should have the credit cards paid off. And I'm thinking, I'm going to do it for a year. That's my goal. Whether it's 11 months or 10 months, I'm going to do it.
I have you at 7. Like, I have you at 7 months. Like, make me proud. I mean, on my birthday.
6. No, just kidding.
Name that tune right here is what we're doing, folks. I can do it. Right. My birthday is July 20th. And I strongly feel like you can have it paid off on that day.
Okay. That's my goal.
Yeah. Like, this is huge. The way that you're going at it. I mean, you said you've taken work to try to get the bonus and things like that. You're not spending that bonus anymore. 7 months. So, it goes back to you and wanting to help your husband, and my advice is it is what it is, but are you guys figure out what doors he wants and start shopping for them, especially Black Friday. The gun,
the doors that we had to replace are replaced.
Oh, okay. I say, like, if it's a 6-panel, I mean, Black Friday, there's great deals. My neighbor just hit me up. Hey, if you need doors for your house, they're running a great deal. I think they were running them for like $45 at Home Depot or whatever.
Oh, these were French doors.
Oh, sure.
To our deck. We had 3 sets of French doors. 2 were in our bedroom and then 2 were out in the dining room. The people who built the house before were horrible. And so the wood was rotting out and we literally had holes. And so we had to have them replaced before winter. And so we went to Lowe's one Saturday and we bought 2 just sliding doors. We're not doing French doors. One for the bedroom, one for the dining room. And it was like $700 for 2 doors, 2 sliding doors.
Sure. So next time you have a home improvement that you need, just let me know. I get an okay discount at Lowe's. Just go to the pro desk, talk to them. I'll walk you step by step of what to do. So, yeah, right. So I really think that you're on track. I haven't done calculations. So what's your minimum payment? What's your minimum payment on your student debt in total?
One of them is 182. Like I pay twice a month. One of them's 110. One of them's 182.
So you just have 2 student debts at,
No, I mean, I paid twice. Like these bills, these ones are due in the beginning of the month. I have this set that's due at the end of the month. That's how
Sure.
it just happened to work out.
Sure. But in
So
total, $300.
yeah,
Okay. So we're at 75,000. You can have that paid off in, I don't know, after everything. Honestly, you should be debt free in 3 years, unless, right, like you start working more. You start working more, or your husband starts pitching in a little bit. But if you make your same payments, you should be debt free out of student loans in 3 years. I mean, it's gonna suck for 3 years, right? Like, but
yeah,
and that all depends on when that next house comes up. But which I always tell everybody, hey, go with the house, because you never play the equity game, but appreciation, but you understand that appreciation is a thing. So we don't play for the downturn. So I think that's all the questions I have. I mean, you've answered why you're in debt. You've answered how you're working on it, which is amazing. You've paid off debts, which is fantastic. Like you've realized. I truly thank you for your time, and I really think that this is great for me. Right. So when David says, "Hey, I get to ask all the questions," it's because my mind has never understood, which doesn't sound normal to people. My mind has never understood the normal way of life, right? Like, I'm honest with everybody. Like, I'm millions of dollars in debt in real estate, and as you said, you think about it constantly. I lost my job, my W-2, making nothing, and have millions of dollars in debt. I literally have no technical way to pay for it except for rely on other people, and I think about it constantly. It drives my wife crazy because, it'll be okay. No, it won't be okay until it's gone.
right.
Like,
That's right.
there's nothing is a guarantee, and I do my best to make it a guarantee, which is why I had a W-2 for the longest time. So, debt is a thing that will drive you insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once you get out of it, and once you pay off that car, I did forget about your car. How much
I still owe 33,000.
Ouch! You got a nice car. What'd you buy?
A 2020 RAV4.
Okay. Yeah. I say. Oh, so that pushes it just a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
it was. I had the cars that I had. I had a Traverse. It was eating us alive. Constant repairs. My husband works for Bentler out of Holland, and so he got a supplier discount.
Yep.
And so it was just better for us in the long run to buy a new car. I needed something reliable. I always have our son. I'm sorry?
It's a 2020. Do me a favor, even if you don't go to Honor Credit Union with your thing, call Toyota and say, hey, we bought a 2020 right before the pandemic. You're doing 0% interest on this exact car. What can you do for me? And, if your husband wants to keep with the same thing, at least try to get that interest rate lower, because they're doing 0% interest. Just now that I think about it, I mean, it's a 2020. You should be paying nowhere more than 3%. And they're not gonna have to. Honestly, you just go straight to the company that he's at, and you make the phone calls and just do all the legwork until he has to get on the phone and say, yes, we're doing this, send the paperwork, and he electronic signs for it. Toyota is offering huge everything right now. The worst they can do is say no. The best they can do is lower your interest. I mean, that's the biggest thing. But yeah, get that thing paid off. Make sure your husband doesn't go into too much debt for his truck, so you guys can buy that next house. Is your next house in South Haven as well?
Yes. His dad has 45 acres. And so the house is on 15 acres next to it. And we inherit the 45 when his dad passes.
Is he off Blue Star Highway?
No, he is off. Okay, so you know where Walmart's at?
Yep.
Okay, so it's he's off Second Avenue, which is kind of behind
Sure.
Walmart,
Oh, that's great.
just outside of in the country. So
Yep. No, it's perfect. Let's say, I sure, I literally frequent there more than I should. I'm probably going to Maria's tonight now. Now
and his mother lives off Bailey, right across the street from the cemetery, and she's on a double lot. So
I say, I think you guys have this, have your, I mean, if your husband's open to it, right? Just even if he doesn't want to hear it, like my wife doesn't want to hear my dad all the time, but I still talk to her about it and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. That way I have some type of an ear and she understands that I'm actually working on it. I mean, she gets, and my wife will say, oh, I trust you, you're doing this. And I was like, I don't need you to trust me. I need you to affirm what I'm doing is correct, right? Like, I mean, just as much as I talk to David, I mean, I don't talk to David about my real estate necessarily, but when it comes to, hey, this is even on stupid cars that I'm paying cash for, I'm like, hey man, I'm buying this, it's valued at this, what do you think about this? And he'll be like, all right, yep, you sound like you have things kind of figured out, or, well, no, I think this is, you should probably look at something a little newer, you'll have this, and I'm like, okay, it makes sense, right? Like, I pick brains of people just to know. I mean, I'm not self-confident. I mean, I'm a very self-confident person, but when it comes to everything, I just want that, yes, this is exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it.
yep, and that's why I went to David, because like I said, I did not agree with my husband on how he thought I should tackle debt.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it didn't make sense to me what he was doing or what he thought I should do. And David kind of validated that for me, and that was not the best choice for me.
No, and I think when it comes to spouses, it's so hard because, right?
And actually, after I talked to David, David, when we talked, I was gonna tackle my Amazon card first. And I really thought about it, and I thought, if I tackle the Disney card first, because they have the same interest rate, but the Disney card has a higher balance, so I'm paying more in interest. And so that is why I decided, I kind of went against David and what he, but I decided that the Disney card I needed to pay more on first.
I love the, if you're a badass like that, that's what I tell people, right? So David's a snowball. I'm an avalanche. I really am, right? Like, I want that. Again, you took that math and said, hey, this is where my highest thing is, and this is where I'm going. I'm an avalanche guy, right? Tackle the biggest thing so everything else looks small. Hey, I just tackled 10K, where 2,000. I mean, dude, I'll be done with that in like no problem. Or 7,600, I'll be done with that less time than it took me to get that one. So
I'm going to throw this out there. I recommend Snowball for everybody.
Yeah, of course.
Most people need to see a win. They're looking for a victory.
Yep.
I don't do Snowball myself. When I've had that, I try to pay off, not necessarily the highest balance, but the highest interest rate. I try to get rid of as quickly as possible.
Well, actually, David, I saw they're the same interest rate. My victory was, one, seeing those numbers coming down. Two, every month I get a statement saying, here's your minimum monthly payment. I saw that number go down.
Yeah.
And which means that the more I pay, the more it's going toward principal. Yep. And then I also saw the amount I'm being charged for interest going down. That was my win. That was my victory. So everybody's victory is different. Some people do need to see one debt gone, two debts gone. Mine was, where is my money?
I think that's a huge thing. Like, right, like everybody has what they find victory. Because when I say I debt avalanche, I mean, I pick whatever one of my houses to pay. But when it comes to savings, I debt snowball. So like, I save to make sure I have enough money to pay off my lowest mortgage. and then I save to pay off like that next one. And so the way I figure it, like by the end of it, I'll have enough to pay off my highest, and so my lowest will all be guaranteed pay, if that makes any sense. I mean,
Mhm.
right? Like, so when I get $1 million or whatever of liquid cash, like I will officially have enough to pay off the highest debt, and all the lowest are pretty much guarantees at that point. Because I have the equity, and I have things, I've proven that I can get up to the highest. So, I mean, that's why I keep adding more and more properties to higher value, because I need to stress myself in my business.
Well, I think when you're talking debt with people too, the more you know somebody and how their brain works, the easier it is. Because when Glenn and I had the conversation this morning about Vanessa, she goes, "Oh yeah, I knew when she talked to you, she'd be good to go. She'd be gung ho on everything."
Yeah.
Like, well, I didn't know. I don't know Vanessa nearly as well as my wife, because I never worked with her, and we've talked, but we've never talked nearly as in depth as what Dawn did. So I'm sitting there going, okay, how can I help her right away? Not, hey, Vanessa's going to sit there and go, man, I got $10,000 on this card, but when it hits 9,500, I'm going to be celebrating.
Yeah.
So instead, I'm going, all right, well, let's just try to get rid of this stuff. This is what I see, where you'll be. And she's like, yeah, that was great advice. Fuck that. We're going to go this other way. We're going to get rid of things. And, hey, I love it. I absolutely do, because, like I said, when you shared with me your spreadsheet and you're tracking everything, I'm going, all right, she knows. She gets what we talked about. It didn't just fall by the wayside.
Yeah. No. So, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as we did. Happy Thanksgiving holidays. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you're learning something from this. As always, like, subscribe, share. West 6th Brewing, thanks so much for donating back to doing great work in the community. It was a good beer. I appreciate everybody for this episode.
I'm going to thank Saugatuck Brewing and Proper Farmhouse for my peanut butter and jelly this morning. That was fantastic. Vanessa will thank Coke. We're waiting for Coke to sponsor us here. We'll drink Coke every time.
I mean, I will throw some rum in there, but I will definitely drink Coke every time.
I'll show the Coke can every time. Thanks for joining us, guys. Like Nick said, give us a like, give us a share, tell your friends about us. Send us anything that you think would be interesting to talk about. We're always looking for questions, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again, Vanessa. We really appreciate it.
Yep.